I'm standing here with the MK5 Toyota Supra, and today I'm going to show you all of its cool facts and features. I'm going to take it for a test drive, and then I'm going to give my final thoughts and opinions on this car. Now, before we get into it, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more of these videos. And without further ado, let's get to it. So the Toyota Supra has 4 different models in its lineup. At the very beginning, it's got the 2-liter, which costs about $46,000 to $47,000. It makes 255 horsepower. And then right here, we got the 3-liter, which makes 382 horsepower, and it's actually derived from the BMW engine plant. And then at the top end, we have a brand new Supra. It's a special edition. It costs a bit more. I would think about $62,000 or $65,000. It's essentially the same thing as the 3-liter, but it just got some special kits and carbon and a wing on the back. But for the most part, the Supra is really just divided between the 2-liter and the 3-liter. So next, let's talk about the engine in here, because this is arguably the most important part and the most desirable part of the MK5 Supra, in my opinion, if you're getting the 3-liter model. Now, this is a B58 engine, pretty much directly from BMW. The whole entire chassis and everything is really derived from the BMW Z4, as most of you guys know already. But this engine is really, really nice. Obviously, BMW engine that makes 382 horsepower. However, on an actual dyno, a lot of people have shown that it actually makes quite a bit more so like 420 horsepower, which is really nice to have. So in addition to the engine, obviously I mentioned how the engine's like the biggest part of this car. However, there's also another thing that I think really draws people to this car, and that's just the overall looks of the car. You can see in the front end, it just looks so aggressive. It looks really cool. I know this is built off of the Z4 platform, but honestly, I think this looks a lot better and more aggressive than a BMW Z4. I don't want to say it looks like a full-on supercar, but honestly, it just really, really looks cool. It stands out. It gets a lot of attention. I would say this car gets more attention than all the 911s I've driven. Everyone loves it. It just looks really cool. It stands out. It pops out, especially in a color like this, in this bright yellow here. Everyone just loves this car and the way it looks. And yeah, it's just a really fun car to be around. It looks really good. And that's also just another big reason why I think this car can sell over some of its competitors, in addition to having that 3-liter BMW engine up front. Moving on to the side of the car now, this is, in my opinion, one of the best angles and sides of the Supra. It just looks really cool. It has all these cool like lines flowing through the car that look really good. You also have these black mirror caps right here that work really nice with the yellow. You also have the side skirt right here that just looks really aggressive and sporty, and just adds to that overall aggressive appearance of the car. My only gripe with the side design of this car is this little air vent right here. It's not even an air vent. It's actually just a piece of black plastic that they put in here to kind of look like an air vent. It's not the biggest deal in the world, but considering the fact that on the front end of the car, they also have some fake air vents, I just wish Toyota would use more functional air vents on the car. So now moving into the rear end of the car, this is also one of my favorite spots and areas of the car in general, just because it just looks so aggressive. You have this nice little ducktail spoiler right here. The rear diffuser is also really aggressive. It really just makes the car pop out. The car is also fairly wide as well. It just has a really nice stance on the road, especially in person when you see it. It just looks really, really wide. However, my only gripe about it is, once again, there's these fake vents that go through here. Now, I know this is a front engine car, so maybe, the vents on the side that would usually lead into a mid-engine car, aren't there. That's fine. But this really is just for the brakes, right? This is for the tires and brakes. And once again, they just kind of put this like plastic piece right here, which I don't understand why they wouldn't just put an actual vent in here. But yeah, that's just something that is just a gripe for me. So now moving into the trunk, I know this is a sports car and the trunk usually isn't that big of a deal, but this is a daily drivable car, so you might as well just take a look at the trunk and see how big it is. It is about 10.2 cubic feet. It's actually pretty big. It's also pretty tall as well, so you can definitely fit all your groceries. You can put probably 2 to 3 suitcases plus a couple of backpacks in here. It's actually very, very big. Even I myself can get in the back here and sit down. So it's definitely a very, very big trunk. And it definitely just makes the car a lot more daily drivable and usable. So moving on to the interior now, this is also where you're going to notice a lot of BMW coming into the Supra. So just to start off, the dashboard, the infotainment system, the transmission, all that kind of stuff literally comes straight from BMW. So while yes, the actual logo says Toyota, the actual car really feels like a BMW on the inside, which is a good thing because BMWs are nice, and there's leather all over the place. You have some carbon fiber trims and pieces right here. This does have the automatic transmission. However, you can get a manual if you want. It's a 6-speed. This is an 8-speed automatic. And just everything is just really, really nice in here. It's definitely not you know, a typical Toyota on the interior. So you're definitely getting your money's worth, considering that a similar car from BMW would probably be about $80,000 to $90,000. This is a really, really good deal, and it's just really nice to be in here. So a couple other things on the interior that I want to mention is these cup holders right here. You get 2 cup holders. You know, they're really good. They're good in size. They're reliable. They haven't broken or anything yet. You also have a little bit of space back here to put your keys and your phone, or you know, anything you really want right here. Over here we have a wireless charging pad, so you can just put your phone right here. It lights up a little blue light to let you know that your car is charging. You also have a smoking outlet and a USB plug right there. In addition to that, you also have this infotainment system, which I'm just going to go through really quickly. So I just have a couple things that are you know, pretty common with BMWs. You have your media, communication, navigation, and then a couple other things. Usually what I do on here, if I'm not using Apple CarPlay, is I'll go into my vehicle right here, and you can pretty much see like your tires pressures, their temperatures as well. You can see right now they're 88 degrees, 39 PSI. You can use a touchscreen if you want. You can also use the buttons down here to scroll through, go back to your menu, etc. One of my favorite settings on here that's actually really cool though is this thing called Sport Displays. It basically shows you your horsepower and torque as you're driving. I know a lot of other cars do that, but it just looks really cool on this you know, display when you're actually driving, and it goes up and down. So just showing you the driver's cockpit here. I'm going to start off with the tachometer area here. So in the middle and the left side as well, it's obviously all digital. But that doesn't really bother me that much because it does look good. It's pretty easy to see. I know some cars, they are a little bit harder to see because like the sunlight will flash on the screen, but this one's actually pretty good. It's pretty bright. It obviously shows what gear you're in right here, you know, your RPMs. On the left side here, you have your gas mileage or however much gas you have left. And then on the right side, it has your oil or coolant temperature. And then right here underneath that, you can actually toggle through that with the switch on the side here. It is kind of weird though that you have to press this one button and it kind of just goes through the rotation of all the different stuff that you can display, but it's really just like trip info, how much, you know, gas mileage you have left, or how many miles you have left till your tank is empty. On top you have the time and the weather. Not really too much going on here, but it is nice. It's clean and simple, and it still has that like kind of sporty look and design to it. Now, just one other thing that I wanted to mention that is actually pretty cool and nice to have is you actually get a heads-up display right here. And not only does it show your speed, but it actually shows the speed limit of wherever you're driving at. So if you see on this left side right here, it's kind of hard to see because you know, I'm showing this on camera, but on the left side, it basically shows your speed limit. And then in the middle right there, it's actually where the it shows how fast you're going. But yeah, it's just cool to have, and it's actually pretty bright. I found that if you have tint on the car, it actually is a little bit more clear to see. But yeah, I just wanted to point it out that this car does come with the heads-up system. All right, guys, so we're gonna get into the driving portion here. I'm just gonna start in sport mode because this is a sports car. I don't really use normal mode that much in this car, but we're just gonna kind of, before we get into it, before we get on the, you know, the straightaways and the open roads, I'm just gonna kind of talk about just the interior and how it feels kind of sitting in here. The seats are very comfortable. They are 14 ways from the premium package. There is no lumbar support, so they're not going to be the most comfortable seats you sit in. Like, they're not going to feel as comfortable as like a 911 seat, but they do look really good. You know, they are very, you know, like sporty looking, and you know, they are in leather. I think you can get Alcantara as well if you want, but everything just looks nice and feels nice in here. It definitely doesn't feel like you're in a Toyota, even though the badge right here says so. It really doesn't feel like it. Everything's just nice. You have a nice infotainment system. The buttons all work fine. You know, they're not like super loose. Like, they feel like they're, you know, like really, you know, locked in there. You get some carbon fiber here. And overall, just a really nice place to be. Before we get into the driving, you know, the speed and performance and stuff like that, who are really the competitors of the Supra? I think it's really the C8 and then the M2/Z4. I think those are really the competitors to the Supra. I don't think that the Nissan Z is really a competitor. Like, yes, they traditionally seem like competitors, but they're not. I think the Supra is definitely a better car than the Nissan Z. I think that really the C8 and the Z4/M2 are the competitors. Now, why do I like the Supra so much, and why do I think the Supra is better than the C8 and those other cars? I think it's better than the C8 because, number one, it's a bit more authentic, and number two, because it's just like, I don't know, it just feels more like what the car should be. The C8 feels like it's something it's not. The Supra feels like, yes, I know it's a BMW, but it does feel like a really, you know, like authentic, front engine, what the Supra is supposed to be. All right, so we're just gonna get on it a little bit here. We're gonna downshift. We're gonna see how this thing goes. So as you guys can see, like, the car has a lot of power. It has a lot of torque. I mean, this is stock, it's not even tuned yet. It has a lot of power, and it sounds really good too. From the outside, the car makes these massive, like, loud pops and bangs. And that kind of goes on to my second thing, is that another reason to get the Supra is that if you want to tune your car, the C8 isn't really super tunable, right? It's a naturally aspirated engine. You're kind of stuck with what the C8 gives you as stock. The Supra, I mean, these things have been tuned to be faster in a straight line than like a Tesla Plaid, right? Which most cars cannot beat like a Tesla Plaid. But the Supra, because it's turbocharged and it's got that nice B58 engine, you can literally tune it pretty easily, put some turbos on it, and like you're making probably close to like 1,000 horsepower. So the Supra is tunable. I think it stays true to what it really is, that front engine architecture. And it doesn't look like anything else on the road. When you see a Supra, you know it's a Supra, right? You don't think it's, oh, like I see the C8, sometimes, you know, I think people think, oh, it's a Ferrari, it's a McLaren, it's a Lamborghini. The Supra, it's almost like a 911. It's like, you know it's a Supra. Like, there's nothing else on the road that looks like it. So you get the uniqueness. You also get a BMW interior is essentially what you're getting here with the Supra. Where, you know, whereas the C8, you're getting like a, you know, GM interior. Not that the C8 interior is bad, but I just think, you know, the BMW interior is probably a little bit nicer. And it's lightweight. The C8 probably handles the same, or maybe even better if you're talking about like the Z06 models, but it's not as light as the Supra. The C8 is like almost 3,800 pounds. This is 400 pounds lighter than the C8, and just kind of for all those reasons, I think the Supra really has it. I think the Supra really is the car to go. It's only $60,000 out the door, even after options. I think this car was like $58,000 or $59,000. Like, it's really not a car that like you have to think about what the options are going to cost. It's like most of the stuff's already baked into the car. I do kind of wish there was a bit more optionality to pick from, you know, like with Porsche and Ferrari and stuff. Like, you can literally pick all the different interior colors you want, all the exterior colors. You know, there's like a million different things you can option on Porsches and Ferraris. On the Supra, it's kind of like you get really, I think it's like 2 interior colors, a couple exterior colors. You can choose to get like a premium package, carbon fiber. There's not a whole lot to really customize on the car, which isn't a huge deal, because I do think that the options they've given you are probably what most people would get anyways. But I do kind of wish that there could have been more options with the Supra, just to kind of make it a bit more premium. But at the end of the day, the car still only is $60,000, which isn't cheap necessarily, but for what you're getting a B58, a really exotic, unique looking car. You're getting a car that's lightweight. You can track it and daily drive it. You're really getting everything in one package for $60,000. And this is really the bargain. I don't want to call it supercar because I don't think it's a supercar, but it's definitely the bargain sports car, and it's really, really good at doing that. So another thing that's really nice about the Supra is that it has a very tight turn radius, and you'll see right here. I mean, this is one of the tightest turn radiuses I've seen in a sports car ever, and this doesn't even have rear axle steering, so I don't even understand how the car turns so tight. But yeah, the turn radius is really, really nice on this car. I'm just gonna do a couple more pulls. I'm gonna downshift. The gearbox is really nice. It's very quick, very responsive. So as you can see, the front end does kind of like to dance around, but I mean, that's the fun part, right? It's not supposed to be the best, most precise car. It's supposed to be fun, and it requires you to drive it. But in terms of the gearbox is quick. I think for this type of price range, this is one of the better gearbox you are gonna get. It's definitely a very, very high-end gearbox. It's not the fastest, it's not the best gearbox ever, but it is like really, really good. I've kind of experienced and seen the previous generation M2 gearbox, and this is a lot better, a lot quicker on the downshifts and the upshifts, a lot smoother compared to the older M2. I haven't driven the new M2, so maybe BMW, upgraded the gearbox for that. But in terms of the previous gen M2, this gearbox is quite a bit of an upgrade, I would say. Now, what are some of the things, or what are some other things that I like about the Supra? I'm gonna show you if I have enough open space and there's not people around, but this car can do some of the craziest burnouts and donuts you will see. Most cars with their updated modern traction control systems, you really cannot do a burnout because the traction just limits you, right? But on the Supra, they've really made it so if you turn traction off all the way, you can literally do a burnout as long as you want, and it looks really cool. You get smoke in the background behind you. It's a pretty cool fun little feature on the car. I mean, the Supra, it has everything you would want in a sports car. This car has done a lot of track days and it's still holding up, right? This car has, I think, 16,000 miles or something like that, and it's really done well. It has not had any issues whatsoever, and that's another thing that I'm going to talk about why the Supra is such a good car compared to like a C8, for example, is the reliability. Yes, it's a BMW engine, but Toyota has tweaked it to essentially make it more reliable and kind of fit their standards of what they consider reliable. And this car, like I'm being honest, like this car has a lot of track miles on it. Like we've tracked this car a lot, and at 16,000 miles, all we've had to do is an oil change. Like that's it, oils, brakes, and tires, and that's it. So this car really is reliable. It's almost like a 911 in a sense. Like I don't want to call it a 911, but like if you look at kind of like just the idea behind the car and how it performs and what it can be used for, it's really, really similar to a 911. The only downside is you don't have the rear seats. You get a pretty big trunk in the back, but you don't get 4 seats. So that would say that's the only downside, right? But everything else, it really feels like kind of a, let's say cheaper 911, because you can literally do anything you want to this car all day and it's going to run. It's not going to break down on you. The gearbox, doesn't have any issues. The engine doesn't have any issues. Transmission, like everything, suspension, like everything's been great. And this car's really been beat on the racetrack. I know the Corvettes, the C8s, do have some reliability issues. They're not overall unreliable. I think most brands have pretty reliable cars nowadays, but if you're looking for like the ultimate reliability, like, I mean, the Toyota is going to give it to you, and this is really what the Supra's done. So I'm going to go here, I'm going to kind of get on it a little bit. Like this car has a lot of torque, and the top end speed is really what stands out to me. I mean, this car, it really pulls on the top end. It definitely makes more than 420 horsepower, or 382, I think is what it lists at. But on the dyno, it does like 420 horsepower. It's just such a good car. Like there's really not a whole lot to complain about this car because of the price point. And you look at what other brands offer. I mean, like a base Boxster is going to cost you a lot more than a Supra. So I think for the price point, like there's really not a lot to complain about. It's not really one of those things that you can harp on and that you can find a bunch of things that you can complain about. There's really not a lot to complain about. Driving on the track, the only thing that I personally didn't like about the Supra was that the suspension almost felt too soft and too kind of like it had too much body roll, I feel like. And even though the car's lightweight, it still just felt like the suspension was a little soft. So if you're gonna do track days in the Supra and you're gonna like really be serious about it, I would personally say upgrade the suspension to like a Bilstein. I think is what most people probably do, because the stock suspension, it's great for the road, right? Like it takes the bumps really well, but when you're pushing on the track, you do kind of feel like the suspension has a little bit of like dead zone, and it kind of feels a little bit too much weight transfer when you're taking the corners. And that's really what I don't like about the suspension on the Supra, but from a daily driving perspective and driving on the street, it's completely fine. Now, this car does have a downpipe on it, so I'm not sure if you can tell from the video, but it sounds pretty loud. Even stock, it sounds loud, and it has a bunch of loud like pops and bangs stock. But with the downpipe, I mean, not even a full exhaust, just a downpipe, like this thing absolutely screams. And if I can get a tunnel somewhere in this video, I will show it to you. But I can even just roll down my window right here and just give you a little kind of idea of what it sounds like, because I mean, it's loud, like really, really loud. I mean, like just the sound, the feeling, like everything is just so engaging in this car. And I feel like in today's age of electrification and everything becoming heavy and everything's just, you know, floor of the gas pedal, and you know, they all do the same thing. This is a unique car. This is something that stands out. Rear wheel drive, front engine, loud, good gearbox, you know, lightweight. Like, it's just everything an enthusiast wants in a sports car. And keyword enthusiast, right? This car isn't for people who don't love to drive or who just want, you know, something fast. It can be fast if you want to. You can tune it and make it fast. But it's really for the enthusiast. It's if you want to do everything car that's super engaging. And the other thing is that this comes in a manual if you want. Now, I think the dual clutch gearbox is better just because you can tune it and you can get more of that performance from it. But if you purely want the enthusiast experience, you can literally just get the manual and you have everything you would want in a sports car for under $60,000. So I'm gonna kind of wrap this thing up. There's a lot of traffic out here today, so there's not a whole lot of open road to do a lot of testing. I will do a track video on this car pretty soon, hopefully. But I'm just gonna kind of wrap it up here. Final thoughts, Supra, I think for under $60,000, if you're an enthusiast and you want a sports car, that's fun, it looks cool, it's lightweight, it sounds good. It's good quality on the inside, it's unique, it's not faking something, it's not. This is the car to get. I mean, this really is a good value. I think nowadays it's hard to find sports cars that are good value. I think usually nowadays if you have something that's good, you're going to be overpaying for it. This, I don't think most people buy a Supra and think that they overpaid for the car. With a lot of other brands, they probably do feel that way. With the Supra, it really does feel like a value car. It does not feel like something that is overpriced or whatever. Just wrapping it out, this is the car to get. If you want something that's fun and unique, you get the Supra, especially in this yellow. It looks really cool. But yeah, so I'm gonna wrap it up here, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to see more of these videos, I am gonna start trying to post more. I know I took like 6 months off or something, but I'm gonna be posting more often now. So I hope you enjoyed the video, hope you enjoyed the Supra review, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.